Today we're going to go over um, just your course expectations for Math 3410, and we're going to begin with the syllabus. So just some basic contact information, most importantly, my email. I'm going to announce my office hour, and it will be posted right here and in the announcements within the first week. As this is an online course, you'll be expected to check Canvas on a regular basis for content or announcements. Your course textbook is Introduction to Probability and Statistics by Milton and Arnold, so be sure to have that. In terms of questions for correspondence, and this is very important, generally you will email me, and at the high time of the semester, just when there's a lot going on, a response can take longer, possibly up to 2 days, as an approximation. I hope to get back to you as soon as I can, which is generally in about a day, which is reasonable. In case you email me and I've gone home and if for some reason I don't see it, I can respond the next day. So one thing that I do want to comment on is that I do have a family, so if you try and contact me during the weekend, you should not count on me seeing that until Monday, okay? Just because I need to dedicate my weekends to my family, okay? So getting back to correspondence, to help me better assist you with your questions, of the most important thing is if you can take a screenshot of the question that you're having issues with or that you want solved, so that I can directly see what question it is you want answered. That is the easiest and best thing. If you prefer to copy the text, you can do that, but I highly recommend just taking a screenshot of the question. If you want to include what you tried as a possible solution, that can be helpful, or concepts that you're trying to apply, that can also be helpful. But again, the most essential thing is just taking a screenshot of the question that you want help with. If you can put the math in the subject line, Math 3410, that would be useful as well, and your name somewhere in the text or title of your email. Okay. So in terms of the course coverage, these are the main topics for the course. Computing continuous and discrete probabilities, being able to effectively analyze data, estimate parameters, construct confidence intervals, using the central limit theorem and understanding transformations, hypothesis testing, and linear regression. This corresponds to these chapters of your textbook. Okay. I'll assume that everyone has the prerequisite, which is a grade of C or better in Math 1220. You'll need a calculator for this course, whether that's a handheld calculator at a minimum, an online calculator using R and RStudio, or using Python. And there may be some additional or supplemental things that I have you do, either in R and RStudio or in Python for this course. So in terms of how you earn your grade, the homework is 30% of your grade. That's worth 2 exams that you can easily see. Each exam is worth 15%, and there's 3 of them, and then there's the final exam. Your exam dates are given right here, okay? And notice I've done my best to give you some leeway in taking your exams in terms of dates, but the final exam date period is a very short time according to the university policy and procedure manuals. So typically it's 1 day. I have it open for 2 days. Okay. There'll be an exam for all of your exams, but not for your final exam. Okay. And your review will be posted at a later date. Okay. One thing that you should be aware of is that there's a late penalty of 5% per day in this course. Okay. So for example, a late penalty that is an assignment that's late 2 days will have a penalty of 10%. Okay. In terms of your grade that you earn, an A is 94 to 100, and the rest of the scale is given right here. Okay. I expect all of you to have some sort of access to a computer and the internet. So if you're in need of a laptop to check out, you can use that link here. And then here's my statement on professional behavior. Okay, so just concerning the course, and here's the student view. Each week I have laid out for you a quiz and the corresponding material. In week 1, you have a little bit more material, a few more quizzes because there's a review quiz for your calculus. Then there's a quiz on the first week's material. Then there's a syllabus quiz. In the following weeks, there's a single quiz, so probability rules. And so what's expected is just for you to take that quiz in week 2. In week 1, you're expected to take all of these quizzes. In week 3, you have a single quiz. And for some of the weeks, I was able to make some additional notes for that corresponding week. So for example, if you were to click on this in week 3, in addition to reading your textbook, I have some notes on discrete probability in this course webpage, and you can look at this, and it has some additional examples. Here, you can see it goes on, but you also have some video lectures. These are the same video lectures that you can access if you were to click on the corresponding quiz for that week. So for example, if you were to click on this discrete geometric binomial quiz, excuse me, I need to go to the student view. So let's go to the student view, this discrete geometric binomial quiz right here. If you were to click on that, it's not giving me the student view, which is what I want. So let's go to the student view. So in this discrete geometric binomial, you can access all of those lecture notes, the video lecture notes. Okay. So you can watch the corresponding material that you should have read over in the corresponding week's textbook. Okay. Something that it says here is that, how many attempts you have. You have 2 attempts. Notice there's no time limit. It tells you when it's due. So one thing you might ask yourself is, when you take this quiz, you get 2 attempts. Your score that you get is the average of those 2 attempts. If you decide to just take 1 attempt, and I'm not positive this outcome because Weber State changed the format of their quizzes, but in the past, if you only took 1 attempt, then you decide to take your second attempt later on, and that was past the due date, the late penalty would be applied to that second attempt, and then it would average it. So I strongly encourage you to take both attempts. Otherwise, you can't really use your other attempt later. Okay, so that's something that has happened in the past. So I strongly encourage you to take both attempts, and that's just the system in which Canvas works. Okay, so I'm gonna take this quiz in the student view so that you can see what it's like. Okay, so here you have access to all the lectures, you have the optional homework problems, and then you have your first question. So you have this density table, and you're asked to determine the probability of x equals 0. So we want to know for the value of x equals 0 here, what's the corresponding probability? And you have 3 possible answers. You're asked to select one of these 3. Okay. So that's how the quiz works. Let me see if there is another question here. So it didn't happen this time, but occasionally there is a question which has you select multiple questions. And when you select a multiple question in the past, in the old quiz format, selecting an incorrect answer was worth negative points. So you selected one correct answer, one incorrect answer, you got a score of 0. So if you saw a question like select all, and let's try this again. Okay. In the student view. Okay. And so, for example, in your syllabus quiz, and this is on some of the material we just went over. So let's look at this quiz on your syllabus, and you can have your syllabus open as you take this. So your first question is, this information is corresponding to your textbook. Select all answers that apply. So notice that this is a select all that apply. So there is, for select all that apply, there can be one correct answer, there can be no correct answers even. They can all be correct answers. There could be 2 correct answers, there could be 3 correct answers. Regardless of how many are correct, if you select one correct answer and one incorrect answer, they can cancel each other out. So only select the correct answers. Only select all answers that apply. So, I did not author your textbook, for example. Okay. So these are your possible answers. Be careful about selecting incorrect answers. Okay. So the second question is, if you have questions, you should include which of the following information in an email to this email and select all answers that apply. Question 3 asks which of the following applies when contacting the instructor with questions. Okay. So additional question is about the course are in questions 4, 5, and 6. And you can take notes on your syllabus when you answer these questions. Okay. So just a few things that I wanted you to look over and know about with your quizzes. Um, your weekly expectations are to complete the corresponding week's quiz. Um, in week two, you have your probability, and so it's pretty similar for weeks 2, 3, and 4. You have your first exam, okay, and you have a time frame as seen in the syllabus to take your first exam. There'll also be a review posted at a later date for this first exam. Then in later assignments, you have your regular schedule of just a quiz, and these are some notes here and here for that corresponding week. Okay, again, notes, quiz, and then you get an exam. And here's spring break. Again, quiz, some notes again here. Okay, exam, quiz, and then you get your final exam. And so that's what's outlined and expected of you each week. And remember, there's no review for your final exam, but there will be, for example, for exam 3. Okay. Just one last thing before I end this introduction, which is, making sure everyone knows what's expected of them in this course. Let's just look over some of the calculus review quiz. So you can have your calculus book handy when you take this quiz, but just questions that you might see from calculus. Okay, so finding the sum of the series, that can be kind of useful, for example, for adding up discrete probabilities. Some information about series, again, that will be important for discrete series. Finding sums of more series here, using the fundamental theorem of calculus, so things that you might look up here. Again, this question is on using the fundamental theorem of calculus, so applying some of the information from above. Again, another question on the fundamental theorem of calculus and applying it. Some questions on integration. These questions are extremely useful for calculating probabilities or even expected values. Again, an integration question. Question about the critical points of g of x and f of x, determining the maximum, information about improper integrals, Riemann sums, rules of exponents, calculating a derivative, considering the derivative of the function at a point, taking derivatives, and then we go back to sums. So again, all things that we've seen in calculus and that we might use at some point in this course. So those are your weekly expectations for Math 3410. And again, I just want to say welcome to the course. Thank you very much.